Okay, Ezekiel 4. This is a continuation of the previous section. There probably really shouldn't be a chapter break here, but oh well. God is still speaking to Ezekiel and giving him his first batch of instructions. Now, son of man, or human, take a clay tablet, put it in front of you, and draw the city of Jerusalem on it. This is Ezekiel's first public performance in front of the people. He's going to be making basically a little miniature playset of Jerusalem. Then lay siege to it. Erect siege works against it. Build a ramp up to it. Set up camps against it and put battering rams around it. Then take... I didn't realize that... Wow. I thought I had put all the cats in the bedroom. Oh no, this is very, very bad. Timber, you could cause all kinds of trouble if you get up there. I thought I had put all the cats in the bedroom. I really did. I really... How did she get out? Did she... Huh. Oh boy, she's in a very precarious position there. She could inflict all kinds... Okay, good. Oops, she got down. She could inflict all kinds of damage where she was there. I thought I had put them in the bedroom. I usually do. I don't know what happened. Maybe she pried the door. Maybe I didn't latch the door all the way shut. Which I'll have to go in there and check when I get done here. Oh well. Then take an iron pan, place it as an iron wall between you and the city, and turn your face toward it. It will be under siege, and you shall besiege it. This will be a sign to the house of Israel. So he's building, you can think of it, if you've ever, I used to have, I actually still do have, I still have some of my old toys from when I was a kid. My old Ninja Turtles toys, the sewer set that I had. I still have that. I also have a little miniature train tracks that, very small, that I still have. Some people have big hobbies about this. Some people have little miniature war sets where they reenact historical battles of the Civil War, the Revolutionary War, things like that. Essentially, that's what Ezekiel is doing here. He is building a set, and you could call it like a play set almost to help visualize the idea by our standards today of Jerusalem, and he's putting it out somewhere where it could be seen and be visible to the people around him, and he is acting out this siege with these different components that he has made, so that the people can see him like demonstrating the siege. Now the siege hasn't started yet. Okay, the siege is about 5 years from starting at this point. So he is predicting that this is going to happen to Jerusalem, which it will happen in about 5 years. You remember, the people at the time were still hoping they would be able to go back to Jerusalem relatively soon. They've been in captivity for 5 years already. And a lot of them were still hoping that they would be able to go back pretty soon. In Jerusalem, they still thought that too. Remember, we read about that in Jeremiah was in Jerusalem, and he was constantly dealing with people and false prophets who were saying that we're gonna get out of this. We're not gonna fall. The city's not gonna fall, and we're not gonna face the worst case scenario. And remember that 100 years earlier, something very similar happened in the days of Hezekiah when Assyria came and surrounded the city, and God did deliver them then. So I think there may have been a thought, both in the people in Jerusalem and those who had already been taken to Babylon, that maybe God was going to do something like that again, and he's not going to this time. So there is still an expectation amongst the people at this point that they aren't going to be in Babylon for very long. So while Jeremiah is dealing with that in Jerusalem, Ezekiel is here in Babylon. These are already in captivity. Okay, so they're not going to be besieged. The people that Ezekiel is speaking to have already been captured. They're already in Babylon. They're living relatively comfortable lives in Babylon, or at the very least, they're not going to be under siege like the people in Jerusalem are going to be. They're not going to be starving from famine and plague, and they're not going to be having to cook themselves or cook their children in the pots just to have something to eat. They're not going to be having to do that, but the people in Jerusalem are. And the people in Babylon aren't convinced yet that the people in Jerusalem are going to end up doing that, because they, like the people in Jerusalem, still believe that God will ultimately not destroy his own city and his own temple. But he is going to do that, and so he has to convince both the people in Judah and those who have already been taken to Babylon that he is in fact going to do that. Okay, so this will be a sign to the house of Israel. Then lie on your left side, and put the sin of the house of Israel upon yourself. I'm not exactly sure how he was supposed to do that. I guess just figuratively he's bearing the weight of the sin of Israel. You are to bear their sin for the number of days you lie on your side. I must not have shut the door all the way today, and she pried it open. That has happened before, where the door hasn't properly shut, and this cat does not like being... I have 3 of them, of course, and the other 2 are back there, and they're taking their naps. This one will probably settle down for her nap pretty soon, too. It's time for their naps, but she does not like being on the wrong side of closed doors. That is just something that this cat does not like. So, she'll probably, in fact, she already is kind of settling down, but she'll probably settle down for her afternoon nap here. The other 2 are already back there. I must have accidentally not shut the door all the way, and then she just pried it open. Oh well. What am I doing here? You are to bear their sin for the number of days you lie on your side. I have assigned you the same number of days as the years of their sin. So for 390 days, so these, in this case, each day stands for a year. So 390 days stands for 390 years. For 390 days you will bear the sin of the house of Israel. After you have finished this, lie down again, this time on your right side, and bear the sin of the house of Judah. Now, Ezekiel most likely would have oriented his head towards Jerusalem, which would have been west of where he is right now here in Babylon. So as he's lying down with his head pointed west, if he's lying on his left side, he's facing north, which was the northern half of the kingdom of Israel. And if he turns around and lies on his right side, he's facing south, which was the southern half of the kingdom of Judah. Wait, where am I? After you have finished this, lie down again, this time on your right side, and bear the sin of the house of Judah. I have assigned you 40 days, a day for each year, so 430 total. Turn your face toward the siege of Jerusalem, and with... Oh, cat. Oh, my. I'll have to figure out what I did wrong today to allow you to do this to me. You're so annoying. Such a nuisance. Turn your face toward the siege of Jerusalem, so he's very clearly there looking in the direction of Jerusalem, and with bared arm prophesy against her. I will tie you up with ropes, so that you cannot turn from one side to the other until you have finished the days of your siege. I don't know exactly what that means. This is one of the more weirder parts of the book of Ezekiel, because I don't know exactly what it means for God to tie Ezekiel up with ropes. Can't stop this. You're annoying. You're so annoying. This is what I have to deal with all the time. I tried putting you... I thought I put you in the bedroom. How did you get out? There. There. I'm going to pose for the camera, what you're going to do. This is a troublemaker. This is Timber, the cat. So I don't know exactly what this tying him up with ropes means. He is clearly not lying on his side every minute of every day for 430 days. Not only would that be impossible unless God gave him assistance to do so, he's told to do other things also during this time. We just got done reading about him performing this demonstration of the siege with this model set of the city that he's built. And we're going to read here in a moment about certain kinds of food he's supposed to cook in certain ways. And this is during the same time period. This appears to all be referring to the same 430-day period in which this is all going on. This is like his routine for the next 430 days. So he's not lying on his side tied up every day, or I should say every minute of every day. So this is only like a portion of each day. I don't know exactly how he divided his time during these days, but he is doing a number of different things as a visible demonstration to the people around him in Babylon. And the lying on the side is only one of these things. So he is not doing it all day, every day. You're enjoying yourself, aren't you? You are making a fool of me, and you are hindering me and getting in my way. I think the spirit of the devil is in this cat. She is preventing me. There we go. Okay, so that's the lying. As far as the 430 years or days, each day stands for a year. I don't know if there's any real consensus on what exactly that means. The most obvious thing that comes to mind, and probably the likeliest, but we really don't know, is that this stands for the 430-year period that they were in subjugation before they officially came into the land in the days of Moses. Okay, so we read about them being in Egypt. I read about them even before they went to Egypt, they were strangers in the land. They were in Canaan for a while in the days of Jacob and Isaac, or Isaac and Jacob, Abraham, Isaac and Jacob. They're actually in the land for a while, but they didn't own the land. Like they were strangers in the land that was going to be given to their descendants someday. And then they went to Egypt, and so in that whole period of time was 430 years. So probably the likeliest explanation for this 430-year figure is that it's a stand-in for the period of time in the days of the patriarchs before they became officially a nation at Sinai, that they were subjected to foreigners, foreign domination, whether it was in the land of Canaan when they were there as strangers and other people owned the land, or during their time in bondage in Egypt, which wasn't 430 years, by the way. I mentioned that when we covered the Egyptian section, that 430-year period of time goes from when when God speaks to Abraham in Genesis 15 until they leave Egypt 430 years later. So it's not strictly, that 430-year period is not all in Egypt. It's actually divided about half. About half of that time is before they went to Egypt, and half that time was while they were in Egypt. But even the period before that, they were under subjugation. They did not own the land. They were free in the sense that they were wandering around, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But they did not own the land. They were still subjected or subjugated to whatever foreign powers were in control at that time. So it could be, and most likely is a reference to that 430-year period of domination by foreign powers in their past. It could also be a reference to this period of time going forward from 597 BC. Okay, Ezekiel was taken captive in 597 BC. This is 5 years later, but he was taken captive 5 years earlier. And they will basically remain, Jerusalem itself hasn't fallen yet, but they will basically remain under foreign domination for the rest of their history, except for a period of time in the 100s BC, when they actually do manage to regain their independence for about 100 years. And that happens in 167 BC, when they regain their independence and have it for about another 100 years. So it could be that the 430 years refers to from 597 BC, when Ezekiel's wave of captives were taken and that captivity began, to 167 BC, when they regained their independence again, finally, and had it for about another 100 years. So that's possible too, but we really don't know. There's no direct explanation of what the 430 means in this text or anywhere else in the Bible. So it's still, in the end, it's going to be conjecture about what exactly the 430 years stands for. So anyway, so moving on from that, so he's just got done talking about being told to lie on his side for 400, and this represents him bearing the weight of the sins of the house of Israel for 430 days, each day representing a year. And after that, it now says in verse 9, take wheat and barley, beans and lentils, millet and spelt, put them in a storage jar and use them to make bread for yourself. So he's supposed to eat during this time, and he's not having his food prepared for him by his wife or anything like that. He's making it himself. So he's not lying on his side every minute of every day. You are to eat it during the 390 days you lie on your side. Of course, he can't be making this food if he's lying on his side every minute of every day. So he is not doing that all day, every day, but apparently this was his routine for this period of time. Weigh out 20 shekels of food to eat each day, and eat it at set times. Also measure out 1/6 of a hin of water, and drink it at set times. Eat the food as you would a barley cake. Bake it in the sight of the people. So he's doing all this in public for the fellow captives around him to see, using human excrement for fuel. The Lord said, in this way, the people of Israel will eat defiled food among the nations where I will drive them. So this is supposed to be wartime siege rations. He is eating this food cooked in this way to represent the sorts of conditions under which the people in Jerusalem will be eating when the siege begins. Now remember, the people he's speaking to are in Babylonian captivity already, and they are not going to be eating this way because they're not going to be under siege. But Ezekiel is demonstrating this to the captives of Babylon to prove to them, to visually to demonstrate to them that the siege on Jerusalem will happen, and the people in Jerusalem are going to experience this. Something else to remember is that psychologically, something else that's going through these people's minds as Ezekiel is ministering to them is that they are second guessing where they stand in the grand scheme of things. They were taken from Jerusalem first. Now we read about in Jeremiah, we read in the vision of the 2 baskets of figs. We read that from God's perspective, the people he had sent away to Babylon first were the better ones. They were the cream of Jerusalem's crop at that point in time. That doesn't mean they were all good people. In fact, we'll find out as we read through Ezekiel, most of them were idolaters. But they were still represented like the better crop of people that were in Judah and Jerusalem at that time. So God took them out of the city first. But they don't necessarily see it that way. Okay, whether they're the captives who are already in Babylon or they're the ones who remain in Jerusalem, both sets of these Jews, think to themselves that the ones who were taken away first were the cast-offs, the ones that God didn't want, and the ones who stayed in the city were the good guys. Like both of them thought that. The people in Jerusalem thought that, and the people in Babylon thought that. And that's actually exactly opposite from God's perspective. God took the better ones away first and left the scoundrels, the worst ones, in the city. But they don't see it that way. And so part of the message of Ezekiel is to convince the people around him in Babylon captivity already that you're not discarded, you're not the refuse that you think you are because you were taken captives first. The people in Jerusalem are going to suffer too. Like the God's judgment on Judah and the sins of the people is not done yet. You know, the judgment isn't just us being taken into captivity and the people in Judah are going to go on their merry way forgetting about us. That's not going to happen. So that's part of the message that Ezekiel's supposed to send to the people too. They weren't supposed to use human excrement, okay? Back in Deuteronomy chapter 23 it says this. Now this isn't necessarily referring to using human poop as fuel, but it says this about human waste. When you are encamped against your enemies, in Deuteronomy 23 verse 9, when you are encamped against your enemies, keep away from everything impure. If one of your men is unclean because of a nocturnal mission, he is to go outside the camp and stay there. But as evening approaches, he is to wash himself, and at sunset he may return to the camp. So basically, if he had a wet dream or something like that. Designate a place outside the camp where you can go to relieve yourself. I don't know if this is wartime situations or just in general. Probably just in general. As part of your equipment, I guess it's wartime situation then, have something to dig with, and when you relieve yourself, dig a hole and cover up your excrement. For the Lord your God moves about in your camp to protect you and to deliver your enemies to you. Your camp must be holy, so that he will not see anything among you. He will not see among you anything indecent and turn away from you. So human excrement and human waste was indecent. Ezekiel is being told here to use human waste as the fuel for his fire to cook his food with. I can't quite make out what I wrote there. My handwriting is pretty bad, and I can't quite make out what I wrote here. Let me go ahead and look up this verse. This may be what I'm looking at right now, or it may be for something a moment from now. I'm going to go ahead and read this anyway. Leviticus 22. Let's just start from the beginning of the chapter. The Lord said to Moses, "Tell Aaron and his sons, these are the priests," which Ezekiel is a priest. He was trained to be a priest. So this refers to him. So basically you could say in Leviticus 22, tell Ezekiel to treat with respect the sacred offerings the Israelites consecrate to me, so they will not profane my holy name. I am the Lord. Say to them, the priests, Ezekiel being one of them, for the generations to come, and that would include Ezekiel, if any of your descendants is ceremonially unclean, and yet comes near the sacred offerings that the Israelites consecrate to the Lord, that person must be cut off from my presence. I am the Lord. Ezekiel does not want to make. Now, he's not going to be offering any sacred presence to the Lord because he can't do it since he's in battle on the temples in Jerusalem. So he's not actually going to be doing that, but he still doesn't want to make himself unclean or impure. If a descendant of Aaron has an infectious skin disease or bodily discharge, again, this is a priest, which Ezekiel is, he may not eat the sacred offerings until he is cleansed. He will also be unclean if he touches something defiled by a corpse, or by anyone who has an emission of semen, or if he touches any crawling thing that makes him unclean, or any person who makes him unclean, whatever the uncleanness may be. The one who touches any such thing will be unclean, which human waste would make him unclean. He must not eat any of the sacred offerings unless he has bathed himself with water. When the sun goes down, he will be clean, and after that he may eat the sacred offerings, for they are his food. He must not eat anything found dead or torn by wild animals, and so become unclean through it. I am the Lord. The priests, again including Ezekiel, are to keep my requirements so they do not become guilty and die for treating them with contempt. I am the Lord who makes them holy. So Ezekiel does not want to touch human waste, even if it's to make his own food. Oops. This is what Ezekiel says to God, and God knows this. God is expecting Ezekiel to have a problem with this. So Ezekiel says to God, "Not so, sovereign Lord. I have never defiled myself. From my youth until now, I have never eaten anything found dead or torn by wild animals. No unclean meat has ever entered my mouth." "Very well," he said. "I will let you bake your bread over cow manure instead of human excrement." He then said to me, "Son of man," so Ezekiel wants to stay pure. He is not going to get to go to the temple and offer sacrifices and offerings to God, which he would need to be pure in order to do that. So he's not going to do that, but he still wants to be pure. He still wants to be clean. "Very well," he said, "I will let you bake your bread over cow manure instead of human excrement." He then said to me, "Son of man," or human, "I will cut off the supply of food from Jerusalem. The people will eat rationed food in anxiety and drink rationed water in despair." So that's the lesson that's being communicated to Ezekiel, eating this kind of food and preparing it this way. They will be appalled at the sight of each other, probably because they're going to be so gaunt and thin because they're losing their strength and muscle and body weight because of the siege, and will waste away because of their sin.